5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Closer Encounters, the show where you, the listener, is also the guest. I am your host, Clarence Mitchell, coming to you live from somewhere in Minnesota. Closer Encounters is streaming live from Blogtalk Radio. We are also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Google Hangouts. For all of our newest updates, check us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Closer Encounters Radio. Don't forget to like, follow, and share. Would you like to be a special guest on Closer Encounters? Or do you know somebody that would like to be a special guest on Closer Encounters? Then just shoot us an email at closerencounters.info@gmail.com. That's closerencounters.info@gmail.com. Have you ever witnessed a UFO? Or seen something that you just cannot explain? Or maybe you've had your very own closer encounter. You believe in the ancient alien theory? We talk about this and much, much more. If you have a story or maybe a question that you'd like to get answered, give us a call. The number here is 347-989-1008. Again, the number 347-989-1008. Give us a call here at Closer Encounters. I'd love to talk to you.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Closer Encounters, the show where you, the listener, is also the guest. Welcome everybody that's on live now on Facebook, Dan and Cheryl and Paul and Gail, everybody, thank you for showing up. I'm going to get the chat room open here real quick on the Blogtalk site. Just a second, I don't want to miss anybody. We're also live on YouTube and Google Hangouts if you're just connecting in with us, so you can watch us there. So hopefully everything's going to stay running. I've been having a bit of a problem here this afternoon. I had a few thunderstorms, and it's been raising heck here with everything. So hopefully will be okay for a little bit anyway. Alrighty, and the chat room is now open on the Blogtalk site, so if anybody joins us there, we'll be able to catch them. And of course, you can always call in here, 347-989-1008. Tonight's episode 103, we're going to be talking about reincarnation, life after death. Is it fake or fiction? You know, is it fiction or fact, or what is it? A lot of evidence. I was just watching a program last night or night before, and there's some pretty compelling stuff going on there. they had one gentleman that was on. He's probably in his 30s, 40s now, something of that nature anyway. But he told a story about how, as a youngster, that he was some type of an aircraft pilot back in one of the world wars, whether it was World War II or war, and how he actually knows how he died. You know, he got shot down and plunged into the ocean and, you know, died or whatever. And it was quite an amazing story. And then there was another one, a young girl who claimed that she was a person who actually didn't live too far away from their residence, maybe in the next town over or something of that nature. And she knew all of the relatives' names, the whole deal. Gail says she's seen it. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Gail, but anyway, she knew all the relatives' names and everything. And they went back and did some investigation, and sure enough, she was correct, 100%. You know, there's something to this, and it's you know, pretty amazing stuff when you get into it. So, you know, I thought we'd chit chat a little bit tonight about that. So, you know, if anybody has this thing going on or knows somebody, you know, comment or give us a call. You know, I like to get more in depth on it myself and see what we can figure out. You know, pretty amazing stuff. But I did fire up my tablet here. Let me see if I can get this. And I was the only problem with this thing is every time you fire it up, it seems like it's got a ton of updates it has to go through. And I actually I haven't used it in so long. That's probably one of the reasons why. But comes in handy when that's not what I wanted. But anyway, it comes in pretty handy when you got a bunch of stuff going on, you know, different computers and stuff. So we'll see to get this thing to work right here. But yeah, I was hoping some people can help me out on this and let me know what they think or what you know. Okay, let's see here. First thing I want to do. Oh, this thing is like touchy. Wow, crazy. Apologize, I should have had this already set up and ready to go. But like I said, it does take a while for it to boot up and do whatever. Kind of a pain in the butt, so to speak. I haven't really used this a whole lot in the past. Used to be my favorite toy of all time, and it's been kind of sitting around. Not doing much of anything, so. Yeah. Okay. If we get back to the home page here, we'll be all set. I thought maybe Tim would be calling me here pretty soon, but I don't see him yet, so we'll see what happens. I see we got a guest here in the chat room. Welcome. I'm glad you could join us. Pretty cool. Okay. Well, I guess this thing, I'm going to have to let it sit for a few minutes and let it do its thing, because it's not going to let me do anything until it gets done with all the updates and stuff. Yeah, go figure. I'm going to have to boot it up an hour early by the looks of it. But anyway, what I can do is I can do it here on this other computer probably much faster. And I'm just afraid sometimes if I okay, well, I'll give you kind of a definition here in the Wikipedia, which is pretty interesting. It says reincarnation is a physiological or religious concept and an aspect of a living being starts a new life in a different physical body or from after each biological death. It is also called rebirth or transmigration, and is part of the Samsariya doctrine of psychoexistence. It is a central tenet of major Indian religions, namely Hinduism, Jainism, and Sikhism. I'm not sure what that is. I've never heard of it. The idea of reincarnation is found in many ancient cultures and a belief in rebirth. It was also held by Greek historians. And is a common belief of various ancient and modern religions such as Spiritism, Theosophy, and is found in many tribal societies around the world. Places such as Australia, East Asia, Siberia, and South America. Although majority of within the Arabic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam do not believe that individuals reincarnate, particular groups with these religions do refer to reincarnation. These groups include the mainstream historical and contemporary followers of the Kabbalah, Cathars, Wallachs, and the Druids. Historical relations between these sects and the beliefs about reincarnation, that there were characteristics of orphanism, mechanicism, and Jainism of the Roman era, as well as religions, have been the subject of recent scholar research. Unity Church is its founder, Charles Fillmore, teaches reincarnation. Okay, now, which brings me to the thing that they got off on the religious aspect of it and stuff. Who read the Bible and stuff, they talk about the death of Jesus Christ. And obviously, now I don't know if this would be the same thing or not, but he died and was put into a tomb. 3 days or 3 nights and whatever, he arose. Now, with that being said, according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, if you read through the chapters and stuff, when he came back, so to speak, and he walked up, Mary Magdalene was, at the tomb, and the stone, of course, was rolled away, as the story goes, and she was weeping, and he asked her, woman, why do you weep? And she said, that somebody took my master's body, blah, blah, blah. So, in other words, she didn't even recognize him. She didn't know that this was Jesus Christ himself. Now, Would that be considered a form of reincarnation or a transformation, or both? Of course, you know the end of the story where he gathers up his disciples and, you know, they go to the mount, and then, of course, he's taken away and, you know, que sera, sera. But I just thought I'd throw that in there because that is, you know, kind of the thing that I was wondering about. So anybody has any ideas on that, or, you know, let me know. I'd like to know your input. So I think it's kind of an interesting concept. But I have heard, and I know people in other groups on Facebook. As a matter of fact, we've had, you know, a couple of good friends there out of the Ancient Alien group and stuff that have also claimed to have had out-of-body experiences. I know one individual who claims that he was back in the night days, you know, with the swords and stuff like that. And he claims that, you know, he has been reincarnated. But we never got really into depth about it and stuff. So that's why I thought I'd kind of bring it up tonight and, you know, see the whatnots about it. So I thought it would be pretty cool. But, yeah, if anybody's interested, like I said, the number here is 347-989-1008. I'd love to get your input on it. And in the meantime, let me, I'm going to boot up this other one here. This is kind of, I think this is from the UK. Well, you know what? Let me go to this other one first. This is 10 claims of physical evidence for reincarnation. This is from Listverse. You can look this up at listverse.com, listverse.com. I see Christina. Hello, Christina. She just shared my video. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really nice of you. 10 claims. Okay. Let's see. Reincarnation transferred birthmarks. In parts of Asia, tradition dictates that when a person dies, relatives will mark his or her body, often using soot, with the hopes that the soul of the deceased will be reincarnated within the same family. That's interesting. The mark is said to become both a birthmark and evidence that the soul has been reborn. In 2012, University of Virginia School of Medicine, Jim Tucker and Jurgen Keel, professors and psychologists from the university, submitted a paper to the Journal of Scientific Exploration. Their study detailed families with children who were born with marks corresponding to their dead relatives. Hello, Milcina. How are you, dear? Glad to see you. I hope you're doing better. We know you've been kind of ailing a little bit, and our thoughts are with you, and I hope you get better soon. Thank you. Let's see here. In one case, a boy from Myanmar was noted to have a birthmark on his left arm in the same place where his grandfather's body had been marked. His grandfather had died 11 months before KH's birth. Many people, including family members, saw the grandfather's mark made by a neighbor from charcoal of the underside of the pot. At just over 2 years old, KH called his grandmother Ma Tinchua, a name only used grandfather. Ain't that something? Grandmother was called mother by her children and Dala for auntie by other children. KH called his mother Warwar Kahin, just like his deceased grandfather had, rather than Ma War. When KH's mother was pregnant, she dreamed of her father saying, "I want to live with you." The birthmark and the child's names for his loved ones makes his family think the dream has come true. Wow, that's pretty interesting. Number 9, this child was born with bullet wounds. Ian Stevenson was a psychiatry professor from the University of Virginia who focused on reincarnation in 1993. He published a paper in the Journal of Scientific Exploration detailing birthmarks and birth defects seemingly linked to past life memories. According to his findings, the majority of birth defects are thought to be formed by unknown causes. In one case, a child in Turkey remembered a life of a man who was killed by a shotgun. Hospital records told of a man who died after 6 days of injuries caused by a blast to the right side of his skull. The boy in question was born with unilateral microtia, a malformed ear, and hemophageal microosmia, which is an underdevelopment of the right side of his face. It occurs roughly 1 in 6,000 babies, while microosmia is 1 in 3,500 babies. Huh. Let's see here. The patient who killed and murdered, and married her son. Okay. Brian Wise, the chairman of the psychiatric department of Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami, claims to have seen a patient have a spontaneous past life regression episode during treatment. Even though he is classically trained psychiatrist and had a regular practice for many years, he is now a leader in past life regression therapy. Hello, Susan. How are you, dear? In his book, Messages from the Masters, Tapping into the Power of Love, Dr. Wise tells the story of a patient named Diane, who worked as the head nurse at an urgent care center. During a past life regression session, Diane supposes the life of a young settler in North America. During the early years of conflict with Native Americans, she specifically talked about hiding from a hunting party with her toddler son in a secret compartment while her husband was away. She described the baby as having a birthmark shaped like a half moon or curved sword beneath his right shoulder. While hiding the son, cried out of fear and their lives. And in an effort to quiet him, the woman accidentally smothered the child by covering his mouth. Hello, Robin. How are you, dear? Good to see you. Months after the regression experience, Diane felt herself attracted to a patient who had been admitted for asthma attacks. The patient also felt a connection of familiarity with Diane. Diane was shocked when she noticed a crescent-shaped birthmark in the same location on the patient. Dr. Wise claims to have seen asthma in people whose previous memories involved death by suffocation. Wow. That's pretty crazy. Reincarnated handwriting. Okay. At age 6, I can't even pronounce half of these names. Taryn Singha was living in Mayana village in India. The boy had been claiming since the age of 2 that his real name was Satanine Sign or something of that nature, and that he was born in a Chakachila village, roughly 60 to 40 miles away, 60 kilometers, roughly 40 miles away. He allegedly recalled that he was a student of class 9, about 15 or 16 years old, and that his father's name was Jeet Sang. A man on a scooter had collided with him who was on a bike and killed him on September 10th, 1992. He said that the books he was carrying the day of the accident were soaked in his blood, and he had 30 rupees in his wallet. And the story was so odd yet detailed that his father, Ranjit, decided to investigate. A teacher in Cholair told Ranjit that a boy named Satanan really had died in an accident, and this boy's father was named Jet Singh. He reached out to the family, who confirmed the blood-soaked books and rupee details. When Tarjan and members of Santan's family met face-to-face, Tarjan was able to correctly identify Santam in the photos. Wow, isn't that something? Oh, Velma, how are you, dear? Glad to see you. A forensic scientist Tarjan in the newspaper and investigated further. He took samples of Santan's handwriting from an old notebook and compared them to Janet's. Even though the young boy was not accustomed to writing, the handwriting was a near match. Dr. Cahoon shared his findings with colleagues who also found the samples similar. Wow, isn't that something? So see, these are some of the things that it's just totally mind-boggling when you really get right down to it. It's just amazing, some of these stories. I'm going to scroll down here. Let's see. Okay, another one of Stevens's investigation revolves around a Burmese girl named Ma Win Ta. Ma Win Ta was born in 1962, and at around the age of 3, she started referencing a life as a Japanese soldier. The soldier had been captured by Burmese villagers and burned alive while tied to a tree. Wow, what a hell of a way to go. Life in her account was not identified, but as Stevens points out, the circumstances were plausible. In 1945, Burmese villagers would capture any of the stragglers from the retreating Japanese army, and they would sometimes burn the soldiers alive. Ma Win Ta showed traits that were incongruous with her life as a Burmese girl. She liked her hair cut short and liked to dress in boyish clothes, something her family forbid her to do. She received foods that marked Burmese cuisine, showing a preference for sweet foods and pork. She also showed a streak of cruelty, including a habit of slapping the faces of her playmates. Is that the Japanese soldiers often slapped Burmese villagers, and that the practice is not organic to the area. Ma Win Ta resisted her family's Buddhism and even went so far as to consider herself a foreigner. Declared visiting members of the Japanese War Graves Commission who had come to her town as oddest of all, Ma Win Ta had been born with severe birth defects in both hands. Her middle and ring fingers on the right hand were webbed and loosely attached to the rest of her hand. They were amputated when she was only a few days old. Several other fingers were missing or had construction rings. A ring on her left wrist had 3 separate depressions. There was also, according to her mother, a similar mark on her right wrist that had faded. The marks were eerily similar to that of a rope burn, something a Japanese soldier who had been burned alive while tied to a tree may have acquired during his ordeal. Wow. Unbelievable. Okay. Wow. This one's kind of interesting. In 1979, Kevin Christensen died at the age of 2. His leg at 18 months had revealed metastatic cancer. Chemotherapy was administered through the right side of his neck to combat the many ailments brought on by the disease, including a tumor that caused his left eye to protrude and a nodule above his right ear. 12 years later, Kevin's mother, who had divorced his father and remarried, had another child named Patrick. Right from the start, there were similarities between the half-brothers, with a birthmark that looked like a small cut on the right side of his neck. It was in the same place where Kevin's chemo IV had entered his body. Even stranger, there was a nodule on Patrick's scalp in the same place that Kevin's had been. Like Kevin, Patrick had an issue with his left eye, which was eventually diagnosed as corneal leukemia. Thankfully, not a tumor. When Patrick began walking, he limped, even though there was no medical reason for him to do so. He claimed to have a memory of going under surgery. When his mother asked him where on his body, Patrick pointed to the area above his right ear, the same place his half-brother had had a nodule biopsy. At around age 4, Patrick started asking about his old house, even though he had never lived in any other home. He described it as being orange and brown. If you're guessing that Kevin had lived in an orange and brown house, you get a gold star. Researchers investigated the situation, actually took Patrick to the old house, but the little boy did not identify anything that convinced him that he was actually familiar with the orange and brown home. While it is very possible that Patrick was able to pick up on details of his mother's life with her previous husband and deceased son, the biological connections are difficult to explain. Wow, crazy. And then there's a couple more here that go on and on. But that's just some of the, a few of the episodes and stuff that has going on. Stuff. Susan Davis just pops in. She says, what do you know about the events that have taken place in the Lake Erie? I'm not sure which event you're talking about, dear. Lake Erie. Which what events are we? I haven't really heard much about Lake Erie here lately, anyway. Let's see here. Okay, Christina just wrote me. She says, Brian West wrote a few books about this kind of experience. He makes a regression in the past lives and I personally have it. Oh, okay, cool. Brian Weiss, Weiss. Cool. There was a bright light and explosion seen by all, followed by a water spout. Oh, cool. Let me see what I can dig up here real quick. Well, they got a lot of different things about water spouts here with thunderstorms and stuff like that on Lake Erie. Let's see here. Like an explosion. Let's see what we get here. Let's see here. It's not showing anything at all, new or otherwise. There's been, the area has been closed off or something before the spout appeared. The explosion was hushed up. Oh, okay. Yeah, because they're not showing anything here in the news or videos or anything about it. So I'm wondering, now you got my interest going here. I kind of wonder what's going on up there. Huh. We'll have to check into this and see. Okay, here we go. Oh, I got the storm rolling in again. If you guys can hear that thunder. Okay, this is the National UFO Reporting Center. And this is an index for Pennsylvania. And we'll shoot down here to Erie. This is July 14th. Hovering neon green circular lights seem to be unmoving and lower to the ground than normal. Aircraft. Let's see here. I can bring this up. Hovering neon green light appeared to stay in one place. Witness was in a moving vehicle and stated that the light appeared to be in one spot the entire ride, or moving very, very slowly. The shape of the light seemed to be, let me see here, a little bit. The shape of the light was ovular, and light seemed to be lower to the ground, lower than an airplane. Huh. And that, and that's the only new thing that is on here at all about that. So whether or not those two things are connected, I really don't know. First I've heard of it, so it's crazy. And I got relatives that live upstate New York there and stuff, and normally if something was really going on, they'd let me know. But interesting. I'll have to do some more checking on this and see what the deal is. Huh. That's really something. But there is a report of the lights and stuff, green circular light. And that's on July 14th. So it's a newish report anyway. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to do some checking, dig into that a little deeper and see what's going on. Okay. Wow. Alrighty. So, anywho. Ooh, it's getting pretty close. If anything happens and I happen to lose the Blogtalk radio or whatever, being that I don't have anybody calling in at the moment, don't worry about it. Worst comes to worst, I'll just stay live on Facebook and YouTube, and I'll go that route, and I'll just shut Blogtalk down. But we'll see what happens. Keep your fingers crossed. Because I've been having problems all afternoon because of the thunderstorm, so not cool. Okay, alrighty, let's see here. Sorry, we'll try to message you. Not a problem, not a problem. I am on Facebook right now, so if you want to instant message me, you can. That's fine. Not a problem. There are a million ways of getting a hold of us. Okay, I'm trying to read this. This Dr. Stevenson, I'm going to have to look him up more and see what the deal is. But he seems to be quite a studier on the reincarnation thing here. In a study titled Birthmarks and Birth Defects Corresponding to Wounds on Deceased Persons, Dr. Stevenson used facial recognition to analyze similarities between the claimant and their alleged prior incarnation, while also studying birthmarks. He wrote in his study about 35% of children who claim to remember previous lives have birthmarks and/or birth defects that they or adult informants attribute to wounds on a person whose life the child remembers. The cases of 210 such children have been investigated. The birthmarks were usually areas of hairless, puckered skin. Some were areas of little or no pigmentation, or areas of increased pigmentation. The birth defects were nearly always of rare types. In cases in which a deceased person was identified, the details of whose life unmistakably matched the child's statements. A close correspondence was nearly always found between the birthmarks and/or birth defects on the child and the wounds of the deceased person. Wow. In 43 of 49 cases in which medical document, usually a post-mortem report, was obtained, it confirmed the correspondence between wounds and birthmarks or birth defects. In a separate study, Dr. Stevenson interviewed 3 children who claimed to remember aspects of their previous lives. The children made 30 to 40 statements, each regarding memories that they themselves had not experienced. And through verification, he found that up to 92% of the statements were correct. The article published on Scientific Exploration, Dr. Stevenson wrote, "It was possible in each case to find a family that had lost a member whose life corresponded to the subject's statements. The statements of the subject taken as a group were sufficiently specific, so they could not have corresponded to the life of any other person. I believe we have excluded normal transmission of correct information to the subjects, and they obtained the correct information they showed about the concerned deceased person by some paranormal process." Wow. Oh, here's the thing. Oh, we have a caller here. Let's take this caller here. So, hello, caller. Are you with us?
Hey, Terrence.
Hey, Lee. How are you, dear?
Fine, and you?
Good, good. You been keeping up with us yet?
I just got home from work.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
Cool. Yeah, I'm kind of discussing reincarnation and stuff, life after death, and, been reading some articles here and stuff about, especially this one Dr. Stevenson, who's done a lot of research comparing scars and stuff like that from people and different other things that they seem to carry from a previous life, and a lot of this stuff has been researched and investigated and found out that it was pretty well true. Pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to mention, a lot of us know by the ancient alien theories and stuff like that, especially Egyptology and stuff like that. They always believed in coming back, life after death and stuff. That's why they mummified everybody. And they always kept their organs in, jars and whatever. And I know a lot of the Indians, Native Americans and stuff believed in it also. Did they not?
I really couldn't say, Clarence, on that. I really don't know.
Okay.
It's, I've never really heard that in my tribe, about reincarnation.
Well, it seems I was reading someplace. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I was thinking I was reading someplace, and I'm not sure which nation it was at the time or whatever, but instead of coming back as a human, they would come back as a form of an animal of some type, whether it be a bird or a cat, or something of that nature. Wild horse or something.
Yeah.
And I can't remember now the whole thing behind it. It was quite a long time ago, but
I think one time we did touch on the subject before, but I had mentioned that show, Ghost Inside My Child. And
yes.
I mean, to me, from these shows, if everything is true from what they say, I mean, there's proof right there. There's reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Because how could these little kids you know, make up these elaborate stories about things they had never seen in this world, you know.
Exactly.
One little boy was so obsessed with the Titanic. I mean, just crazy obsessed about it that I believe they found out he was this reincarnated man that was on the Titanic.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, it's kind of ironic too, because
that show had several stories. One was a story of this boy, a little boy, a small boy, who come to find out from all the things that he said and he would bring up and he would baffle his parents, you know. Come to find out, he was a black woman that had died in a high-rise fire.
Oh my goodness!
And I think she jumped out the window of that fire.
Oh my goodness!
Everything that he would say, you know, as a little boy. I mean, his parents were, you know, weren't black, so they're like, you know. And his mom finally did till she found out who this woman was.
And they actually found her. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy. And here's the thing,
I mean,
you know, I'm reading these articles and that, and I used to think, for whatever reason, that reincarnation wouldn't happen for like 50, 60, 100 years. But according to this, there's a lot of things, reincarnation that happens within a year or two of death.
Well,
really close together.
Stories on this show, you know, they weren't, the reincarnation or time in between wasn't that long either. Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm wondering, and I'm just highballing here. You think everybody gets reincarnated? I mean, does it go on and on and on? Or is it just certain ones for a certain reason? Or, I mean, you know, I'm trying to get the gist on that. You know what I'm saying? What would be
Is anybody on our group saying anything about it? Are they posting anything? What do they think? It'd be interesting to see what other people think.
Yeah, so far no one's really talking about it.
I mean, I believe in it. But I haven't had no experience. I mean, we all have deja vu.
Yes.
And my son really had deja vu really bad, you know, as a young man. So, are we remembering events that we had in previous lives when we had deja vu?
Well, that's a good question. You know, I've had deja vu myself a few times and often wondered, you know, what the deal was with it. And of course, you know, a lot of scientists, they just kind of shrug it off as I forget the word for it now, but something with the subconscious, you know, blah, blah, blah. You actually did do something, but you just kind of forgot about it, you know, and it's like a close relationship thereof, which I think is a hunk of hogwash.
I mean, and you think about it, Clarence. I mean, when we dream, I've had dreams that were so bizarre. I'm like, where did these dreams come from? Like, I mean, I've had dreams like being shot in the back, you know,
right?
How bizarre. I mean, did that happen before in a previous life? Where did that dream come from, you know?
You know, that's a good question. That's really ironic. Now that you mention that, I can remember when I was in my teens, 13, 14, 15, you know, high school age, I can remember having really, I always dream in color. A lot of people think that's kind of odd too. But I always had these vivid dreams about like running from somebody or from something. And I'd fall down a hill or off a cliff. And of course, you've heard the old saying, if you hit the bottom, you know, you die, blah, blah, blah. But I've literally woken up and be bouncing in my bed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you bring that up. That's like crazy.
Yeah.
But and maybe you did fall and you're bounced or something. I don't know.
Did I stand up and fall backwards?
Ever had dreams?
Yeah.
I mean, we all dream, but I've had these dreams not very often, but they affect me so much. I don't know if you've ever heard, but some societies or some civilizations, they have these initiations.
Right.
Like, I read about it in Holy Blood, Holy Grail, the book, where they would go into like these crevices in rocks, and they would go in there for, they would crawl through these crevices, and it was a test to see if you could handle, that type. I mean, these were like, so your body would barely fit in it,
right.
in these crevices, and they would be in there for like a long time trying to get out of there.
Mm.
And I have dreams like that.
Oh my
where
God.
it's in a rock or a crevice, and it's way deep, like in a cave, and it's when I wake up, I'm like shaken, from
Right.
that.
Right. Wow. And why would you dream such a thing as that? Yeah. Yeah. What would make you dream something like that? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And be so vivid.
I don't have those types of dreams very often. I mean, but
right.
they have been reoccurring in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
A handful of times I've dreamt that same dream, and it's so. I mean, it's so freaky to me and then when I wake up, I'm shaken.
Wow.
From it,
Sure.
I don't know. Did I participate in that in a previous life or what?
Right. Right. Dreams are an odd thing. I mean, seriously, I've dreamed of different people that I've known over the years. Different, just oddball stuff. It really, and you wake up in the middle of the night, or you wake up the next day, and you're sitting there thinking about it, and you're like, geez, did that really happen? Or, is it going to happen? Is it a premonition? Or, yeah. And then sometimes you can't really remember the whole damn thing either, Yeah. But I've had times too where I've had certain dreams about like an old friend of mine, and when I go to sleep the next night, that dream will pick up right where I left off at and run its course.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Isn't that weird? Yeah.
That is strange.
Yeah, it's almost like a movie.
I don't think I've ever had that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really strange. Now, I don't know why I would do that, but
yeah.
And I haven't talked to my friend in years. I haven't seen this person, but for some reason he's on my mind, and just weird stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But
do you believe in reincarnation?
I almost have to. I really do. Because of the stories that happen, and because of the investigations and stuff, different things that they've come up with so far. I mean, it's just too coincidental. And of course, people say there's no coincidences, Yeah. So you almost have to believe in it. But
so is it? Do you think it's our same soul that's recycled, or?
See, that's the question. Because you would think, if that was the case, that you would remember everybody that you've been, or whatever. I mean, that I don't know. And why is it?
If you had previous parents or siblings, or
right.
Now that I don't know that anybody remembers that kind of stuff, do they?
Well,
I think they do. I think in that show, like those little kids said, "Oh, that was my mom before," or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they've said that.
Yeah. So it's yeah. It's crazy. So that's one of my questions. I mean, if that's the case and reincarnation is real, then and honestly, here's my thing that I worry about if it is the case. I don't want to come back as a murderer or some war criminal or some thing like that later on in life. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping if that's the case that you keep the good side of you as you progress. That's what I hope for anyway. And it makes you wonder because when you stop and look at these thugs and murderers and rapists and child molesters and stuff like that, it's mentally damaged in their head. Obviously, there's some kind of DNA problem there or something mechanically wrong with them. So why would that keep going on? Why wouldn't that die off or, get squashed somewhere down the line? Why would that come back?
And I've heard, I've heard things like, you come back until you get life right or something like that. You keep coming back till you get it right. I don't know.
No kidding. Yeah.
But you mentioned serial killers. Okay. So,
yeah.
Or murderers or,
right.
bad people.
Yeah.
But if you look at any war, any of our military, they go there, and how many people do they kill? Does that make them a serial killer?
No.
Because maybe they killed, 10 or 20 people.
Right. No, that actually I can't.
So what's the difference? And somebody.
Yeah.
They both men, whether it's a serial killer or someone in the service, they consciously know they're killing people,
That's true. Very true. Yeah. And I joined the military myself. And luckily, I didn't never have to point a weapon at anybody, and I feel for the ones that did. I got plenty of,
I know some that have had to kill children.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
What's the difference in that man opposed to the man that really murders somebody, I mean, it's murder either way.
Right. Well, I guess the big difference is, I guess
the other one will send you to prison. But
yeah, I guess the big difference would, it's the situation is what the difference is actually. Where what we know is these people in prison now, they go out and do it because that's what they do. It's an everyday thing for them. They live to do that, Where the guys in the military, they're there for a very short time and they're there for a cause, so to speak. So it is kind of different. Does it make it right? No, I don't believe that at all. Killing is killing,
yeah.
Sad when you really stop and think about it.
Military still, because it's their conscience, it's on their conscience. Some of them are in there because that's what they want to do,
Right.
Because of maybe their hate for Muslims or whatever,
Right.
I don't know.
Susan Davis just wrote me. She says, you come back if you don't ascend. Now, I'm assuming you mean ascend like into heaven or something? Or what if you descend? I mean,
and that's another thing, I've heard, there's times I've heard people say, if you pass over, go to the light. Go to the light, go to the light.
Right.
Or other times I've heard people say, don't go to the light.
Right. Right.
Don't go to the light. So it's really
kind of a mixed up thing there. Yeah. Good question. And it's got me thinking about it too. I mean, is there such a thing as heaven and hell? Is there an afterlife? And like I mentioned earlier in the show, Jesus Christ came back supposedly, according to the Bible, after 3 days, 3 nights. Had transformed himself into a different entity, and Of course, Mary Magdalene didn't recognize him, you know, when he came up to her and stuff like that. So it makes you wonder. And there again, it talks about him raising the dead. Now, that probably wouldn't necessarily mean reincarnation, but that would probably be life after death or whatever, near-death experience. Dead, what, 3-4 days before he was resurrected? So, you know, I don't know. She says if you come back...
Yeah, and I can't understand why God only had one son. How come you don't have 10? How come you don't have 20? You know.
Well, that's the religion part of it. You know, it depends on. It's like I've stated many times. Depending on where you live, is how you're raised. You know, we're raised Christian. You know, if we were over in Arab nations or whatever, we'd be Islamic or Muslim or you know whatever. So that's the religion you would follow. And some religions have 10 sons or 10, you know, 10 gods, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. It just so happens that our God only had one, you know. Religion,
why did he only have one?
Yeah, religion's funny
why
thing.
Did he have a daughter?
Well, there you go. Yeah, why didn't he have a daughter? I don't know. You know,
yeah.
Of course, back in the time, I guess females back then, they weren't recognized. I mean, they were mothers and that was it. I mean, you know, they didn't have much of a place in the, you know, what do you want to call it? You know, they were seen and not heard.
I know. The
yeah.
In the, what do you call it, where they murdered a lot of women. What was that called?
Yeah.
Where they killed all the women back in the day. I can't remember what.
Yeah.
It's right on the tip of my tongue, but I forgot.
Kind of like the witch hunt kind of thing. Yeah, Inquisitions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She says here, let's see, Susan wrote back, she says, if you don't realize that we are connected to the same power source, you will not ascend. You are sent here to learn we are all connected. Well, you know, and I believe in energy. I believe that our soul is part of an electronic magnetism, whatever you want to call it, you know, source, some type of a power source.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that wholeheartedly. Lee, it looks like we have another caller here. I think this may be Colin. Let's see if... Hello, caller. Colin, is that you, sir? Hello, caller. I don't know who it is. Hello, caller. You with us?
Am I live in here?
Yes, you are.
I am?
Yes. How are you? Who we got here?
I wanted to talk about a real close encounter I had.
Okay.
So one time, I was on a plane.
Uh-huh.
And I jumped off with the parachute right before. I crashed into the Twin Towers.
And he hangs up. Okay.
I was like, what?
He crashed into the Twin Towers.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh, brother. So anyway.
Well.
Yeah. But yeah, I do believe that our soul and stuff definitely has, I mean, our bodies have an electronic deal going. Well, obviously, when they hook up EKG machines and stuff like that too, you got brain waves, you got heart rhythms, you know, that kind of stuff. When they bring you back, they have to shock you with an electrical force field, you know, a jolt to get your heart pumping again. So, you know, and all your nerve endings, of course, are, you know, electric, everything like that. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy when you really stop and think about it. But I guess the main thing is what is a soul when you die? I mean, you know, is it a force field? Is
and
it,
if it is,
you know?
if it is like recycled, why?
Yeah, that's my question. Why? Why would it come back? Why?
And then you hear a lot of people that will say, "Oh, when I come back, I want to be a horse, or I
Right.
want to be a bird, or a, you know."
Well, here's the
Or
thing
if you
too.
come back as a slug.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too that I'm trying to wrap my head around. Now we got umpteen billion people in the world, you know, and
Yeah.
it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and
Yeah,
growing. So where are all these extra souls coming from? You know, these extra energies, you know, that's the thing. Because, you know, if one dies and you come back, well, then you're just replacing one. I mean, that's it, you know. So there has to be a new energy form somewhere, you know.
Yeah, because it's adding to the 7 billion that we have. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, the baby boomers, I mean, wow, you know.
Yeah.
Looks like our friend may be back here. Let's see what we got. Go ahead, caller. Hello. Well, okay. Yeah. More than one way to skin a cat. Yeah, there's always got to be somebody, you know, that think they're funny. Trolls are trolls are trolls. You know, it's going to happen.
Yep.
So, anyway.
So she says, did Susan say that we have to know our energy source, or what did she say? We have to.
She says that if you don't realize that we are connected to the same power source, you will not ascend. And you are sent here to learn that we are all connected.
Or do we go to hell, or what? If we don't recognize that.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. I really don't know. Oh, Colin and Doug's on.
I mean, hell is hell as in brimstone and fire.
I myself, no, I don't. Of course, I'm going to hell now for that one. I kind of renounced religion a long time ago, only because of my visitation and stuff, you know, and the things that I've had happen as a youngster. Of course, my father was an ordained minister. I know a lot about religion. I know a lot about the Bible. You know, I can quote scriptures all day back and forth and whatever, and, you know, go through the whole deal. But that's me. I mean, that's, you know, to me, I do believe in a higher power. Don't get me wrong. I'm not renouncing. I'm just not going to call it God or whatever. I don't bow. I don't pray.
I'm just,
you know,
I'm just like you. You know, I read the Bible as a young person, and although I wasn't like always at church, I had family members who like, my grandmother loved Oral Roberts, so she was every Sunday it was on TV, you know.
Yep. Exactly.
And I, as a young person, I was, you know, I did truly believe in the Bible and all of that, but I had a change of heart, and I'm not Christian. I do have my own spirituality and faith. And beliefs. But I'm kind of like you. I don't believe all that stuff anymore. So I do believe in a higher power.
I tell you what really turned me off, and it wasn't so much the religion part of it, I guess. I don't, well, maybe it was too. I mean, there's a lot of things probably that turned me off from it. But I guess the main thing that really bothered me the most, of course, I always challenged a lot of things, during my childhood. I was a crazy kid. But I would sit in a pew and I would watch all these neighbors that I knew, and the mechanic down the road, the butcher down the road, the mailman down the road, the milkman from down the road, the newspaper delivery guy from down the road. And they would all pray and get baptized and all this stuff, and renew themselves and wash their sins away and give tithing and all that stuff. And Monday morning, they'd punch you in the face. I mean, that's, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Yeah, love thy neighbor on Sunday and screw him on Monday. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of one or many of the reasons why I got out of it. The hypocritic part of it was just overwhelming.
It was funny. Just the other day, someone was saying about, go to church and that's where God is and everything. But
no, God's everywhere.
When you walk out the doors of that church and you look up, that's where your God is.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. God's everywhere.
Or whatever you believe in. It's not in that building.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I don't need to go to a church in order to pray.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want to call it, praying or meditation or whatever. I'll be honest with you. I prefer the Native American way of doing things. I mean, outside nature.
And that's I reverted back to my traditional.
Absolutely.
Belief, so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's
where it took me a long time because I went to all different types of faiths, from Baptist to Methodist to Catholic to Mormons. And I could never find the God that I was looking for until I went back to my traditional beliefs,
Yeah. Cheryl says they aren't perfect, just forgiven. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to put the human aspect in on things too, obviously. It's a sad deal. But,
I mean, that's my faith, and I respect. I have family that are Mormon, and I respect that.
Right.
I don't try to impose my beliefs.
Well, I don't either.
Anybody.
Right.
But that's the one thing I do get tired of is people imposing their Christian belief on me.
Right.
It does get old.
Yeah, it does. And of course, I got Jehovah's Witnesses stopping by here every other week, knocking on the door. Which, hey, you know what? Yeah. That's what your religion does. God bless you for it. I'm glad you're spreading the word. But how many times you going to knock before you figure it out? I'm not going to answer the door for you. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
If
I was me, I'd be saying, "Don't come back."
Well, I have, and I've opened the door and said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I have my own thing. You wouldn't understand it. Excuse me. I gotta go. Whatever." But they still come back, and But I don't know.
Yeah, they can be annoying.
Colin says Native American beliefs, or maybe they learned an understanding from others. Yeah, very possible. But even Native Americans were Christianized.
Like in my own tradition, there's several gods under the Navajo. There's different gods for different things.
Sure, sure.
There's not just one.
Well, that's another thing too. Now, do they actually call them gods, or are they just like spirits? I mean, is there one higher than the other, or are they equal?
There's different levels.
Mm-hmm.
Different levels, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how how this all kind of wraps together.
I also believe, and even Native Americans believe in the Star People. I
absolutely.
believe there's other beings and other, planets out there in our universe.
Absolutely.
So, you know.
Sure.
And that's why I say we as humans on our little tiny itty bitty planet, which we are, it's like we're like a needle in a haystack, really.
All right, absolutely.
We are so tiny. We just don't realize how tiny we are compared to our universe.
Right.
We're minuscule.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah.
But we've got, here on our planet, we got such big heads, we think we're the center of it. Which is so far from the truth.
Kind of ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah, it sure is. Cheryl says, you just plant the seed and move on. And Colin says, I feel if something wishes to be called a god, it is not. Yeah.
He says what now?
If something wishes to be called a god, it is not. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well.
And you know, you were
Yeah,
talking
so,
about Oral Roberts and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, I remember back in the day when they all got busted for doing certain things, and you know,
Well, you look
Jim
at
Baker and all them
right
people.
now, Joel Osteen.
Right.
He's got millions of followers.
Yes.
Yet he lives in a mansion and
Yeah.
you know,
Fancy
you know,
cars.
these cars and
Oh.
you know, I don't understand how their God or the Christian God
Does that? Yeah.
I don't understand how that works.
Yeah. Where's the humbleization in that? Really? Aren't you supposed to live a humble life? I mean, really? You know?
And how many of those preachers at that time, Jimmy Swaggart, Oral Roberts,
Yeah. Even Swaggart got in trouble.
So corrupt. It's
Yeah,
just,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
people will follow them, you know. People
Yeah.
will send them lots of money and they'll follow them, you know. I just don't get it.
It does put a black eye on their community, that's for sure. You know, I'll give them that. But there again, it's just like I was saying, you know, love thy neighbor on Sunday and screw him on Monday, you know. Yeah.
Some of these little bitty preachers in our communities, they know that's how they can get money.
Yeah.
It's not about the word of God. They know they can fill up their drawers full of money and it's tax-free. So
Right. Being under the church.
Like
Yeah.
It's just like the crooked politicians in our government. They know that's a way to make a fast buck and a lot of money. So.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are sheeple. They don't realize what they're following. You know.
Yeah. Susan says to believe in one thought is to close your mind. Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. I believe in a lot of.
I mean, I I've been many faiths.
Yeah, me too.
I've read the Bible. I've read lots of, especially after Da Vinci Code. I read a lot of stuff on the other books that weren't included in the Bible.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's another thing too.
On my belief,
you know,
it's my belief. What I have finally come to is that being closed-minded. I don't know. You know.
Yeah. Well, I live an honest life. At least I try to. You know, I don't go out of my way, you know, to make trouble for people. I don't go out of my way to screw people over. I go to work.
Or stab people in the back.
Exactly. You know, I go to work. I try to be as honest as I can. You know, and here's another thing. There's times, and I've been down this road, and I'm sure many people out there have, that you find yourselves in a situation that society puts you in, where you have to do something that you're not supposed to do. And that to me is not my fault. That's their fault. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing that really pisses you off. You know, if they'd have just let things be and left me alone, I wouldn't have to do certain things, you know. So, you know, it's a forced issue. It really is. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
my track record is pretty clean, you know, so as far as that goes. But,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I've done some dumb stuff as a kid and this and that and whatever. No harm, no foul kind of stuff. But, you know, that's what you do when you grow up. But, you know, but as far as going out of my way and actually, you know, hurting anybody or doing anything really super bad, no, you know, absolutely not. I just never had it in me.
I don't know if you saw this on Facebook, but there was a lady, they showed this video of a lady that was, I think it was a lady that was running, and there was a lady walking next to the road, and that lady that was running pushed the lady in almost in front of a truck. And she kept running.
Yeah, he does something.
Now, who does shit like that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
You know, what kind of person would do something like that?
Yeah. And for whatever reason, I mean, what would be the reason behind it? Because she was in her way? I mean, you know, is that it?
No, she wasn't even in her way.
She just went over and pushed her.
Well, from what I've seen, of course, it was just a small clip. I mean, it didn't show. It just showed her running by this lady, and she pushed the lady, and the lady almost fell in front of a truck.
Wow. Unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, what makes people do that? You know?
Huge defensive driving, and there's a story I talk about late last year. There was a story about this elderly lady who was taking a little boy, like I think he was 3. She was taking him Christmas shopping, and I guess the guy behind her was so irate at how she was. I guess she drove too slow up to the stop sign or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he gets out once he stops. He gets out and runs up to her car and shoots into her car and kills the 3-year-old little boy.
Oh. Oh,
so
wow.
Where do these people that do stuff like that? What's
Road
their
rage.
mentality, and how do they come to they rationalize doing something like that? You know,
Yeah.
I don't. What do they come to?
That's definitely some anger management issues there. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. And, you know, here's what gets me: for somebody to be able to snap like that and do something such as that, they've had it in them their whole life. That's not something that I honestly don't believe that's something that is just brought on. You know what I mean? I think that you were born with stuff like that in you. I really do. Because that's just my way of thinking.
We're born with evil in us?
Absolutely, yeah. You're either going to be an evil person or you're going to be.
Come into the world with evil in our soul. Some people.
I believe that. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I honestly think so. Which gives you that good and evil thing that, you know, is always talked about throughout religion and whatever. You know, the people that have to combat the bad and the good, you know, whatever. Of course, the good is supposedly going to win. You know, we're supposed to already know that, but who knows?
I don't know about that.
I don't either, because I tell you, it's getting ugly.
To me, when I look at our world, it's ruled by evil.
Absolutely.
And if you believe the Bible. According to the Bible, the God
90 seconds.
Lucifer and I don't know how many angels to earth because they were evil.
Yeah, he threw them down here. Yeah, he was outcasted. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, Lucifer.
Yep.
So,
of course, that's the story. I don't know. Yeah. Colin says he thinks evil is inherited.
If you think about to the beginning of man,
seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many human beings have come and died on this planet? I mean, now we know our population is up to 7 billion, but that doesn't include the people from Rome, the people from Egypt, the people that lived, you know.
Right. Exactly.
And those people weren't. I mean, not always were they enlightened by the Christian God. So what? Are they just automatically sent to hell because they didn't know, you know?
Right. Well, that's true. You know, that's very true. I don't know. Well, Lee, it looks like we're out of time already, dear. Unfortunately, but
Oh, that's fun.
yeah, it was. It's great
And I'm
chatting.
sorry, what if I said anything?
No,
I didn't
hey,
mean to
that's-
offend anybody.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And you know,
They might think I have some very radical views.
well, me too. I mean, I got crazy stuff going on there, so you know, it's gonna happen, no doubt. But
well, it was an interesting topic.
absolutely, absolutely. We'll talk about it tomorrow too.
Anything, but
well, you know, I'm surprised Tim wasn't with us tonight. I figured he may have some input on this also.
yeah,
but,
it'd been nice to have Tim on.
that's okay.
Well, anybody, Colin. What happened to Rob?
You know, Rob dropped off the face of the earth. I have no idea what happened to him. I've sent him messages, and he hasn't done anything with his website or nothing, or with his page. So I don't know what happened to him, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I hope he's okay, you know, but I don't know.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right, Clarence, have a good evening.
Yes, you too, Lee. And we'll be back here again one more time tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. So, you know, if you're around, give us a holler. Colin, everybody, Andre, I'm sorry you're late, buddy. He just popped in. Cheryl, everybody that joined us there on live Facebook, I want to thank you very much for being there. It's really awesome to see you guys. So, yeah. So until we meet again, I wish everybody
tomorrow. Okay,
yes,
good night.
Fantastic evening. Good night. Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, be here. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for listening to Closer Encounters. Please remember to like, follow, and share. And until we meet again, keep your eyes to the skies. Thank you.